Hello, my MFA 608 students, and welcome to Module 4. Yay, exciting times ahead. I hope you enjoyed Module 3. That was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Yes. Well, Module 4, even more fun, because who's not about fun? We're all about fun in this class. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the learning objectives. Okay, so what we're going to do is we get to assess a piece of writing from the lens of an editor, and analyze a peer's work from the lens of a proofreader. We're going to walk through these assignments, so we get to start practicing some of these concepts. All right, and then of course we're going to examine some resources on the type of editing, because sometimes when we think of editing, what we think of editing and what other people think of editing are maybe not the same thing, because there's all sorts of different types of editing, as you will see in this module. So we're going to look at the different types of editing and practice, because yes, good stuff. Okay, let's go to the next part, the module overview. So this is a read through this. Again, it kind of talks about, it may be a little intimidating when you read through this, the levels and different types of editing that can be done. Okay, but at least get an idea that, again, not every place is going to do every single step, but please kind of read through this. There's a great source here, the different stages of editing a novel. We'll actually talk about that in just a minute, because we're going to use that to help us understand one of our assignments. It does kind of help you understand the difference between using this for a traditional publisher versus an indie publishing. Okay, and and I think one of my biggest takes away from this this line here is that when you're working with an editor, they're going to give you some ideas and some recommendations, but again, as an author, you get to kind of, you need to be kind of flexible enough to listen, but stand your ground enough to not let it become something that it wasn't yours, because there are editors who just want to basically take over your book. And as we learned with some of the rules that you all came up with, that is not really our goal. Our goal is not to rewrite the book in our own image, or to, whatever. We need to respect the vision of the author. So I think that, we understand that. So that's kind of good to know. All right, moving on. Okay, let's get to module at a glance. So this is basically what we're going to be doing. There's 2 activities that we'll be doing, well, really 2.5, 3, because we have this ongoing class resources discussion where we add resources, and I'll show you how to do that. And I will be, I'll show you this in just a second. So again, there's going to be an activity, editing and proofreading and stuff like that, and I'll show you how to do that. I will give you one bit of warning, so a little heads up at the beginning here. I had to put in a ticket because there is a missing, as of right now when I'm recording this on Wednesday the 12th. I try to do this in advance to make sure I catch any problems before you guys have to deal with them. There is a missing part where you're supposed to submit a piece of work, in which we'll get to in a second. My goal is to have that resolved before this actually module starts. So just letting you know I'm looking out for you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and here's your reading and resources. Just to, again, there's a lot of them here. I made sure all these links work. The Chicago Manual of Style. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the Chicago style, simply because my first book that was published through a traditional publisher, whenever they would make a recommendation, I'd say, well, I kind of want to do this instead, and it was like a nitpicky thing. Their response was always, well, the Chicago Manual says. I'm like, ugh. If all we do is follow a certain manual of style, then everyone's books would be the same. Well, not necessarily, but anyway. But there is some very good important things. Again, that's kind of the give and take. What are some good things you should go on, and but you have to know the rules before you can break them, right? Okay, so there's our rules. There's some resources. Okay. Moving on. So before we get started, I will have an additional lesson. I like to kind of create these kind of like real life kind of things. So it'll be another announcement. This one talks about a couple of things. Number one, looking and finding our favorite words that we use when we're writing, which maybe we shouldn't be using when we're writing, and also the pitfalls of using the find and replace feature in Word. So that's fun. So just make sure you check out that video, which will be posted in the announcement sections. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. 4.2. Okay, so this is our first activity. This is our first thing that we're going to be assigning, that we're going to be doing. And so basically, if you click on this, we'll just kind of break it down. So this is 4.2. Look at this. Yeah, it's 4.2, right? Yeah, okay, this is the right one, because we have two of these. Okay, so this scenario is a client brings you a piece of writing, okay, and they have requested that you requested a proofread, your least expensive service. Okay, well, it's not to get too hung up on that part, but the key point here is they want a proofread, okay? So what kind of edit do you think the piece actually requires, and why? I'm kind of highlighting the wrong things there. In this activity, you will practice providing editing feedback to a client. So the key word here is proofread, okay? And then there is the actual sample. So this is just a Word document. So if you click on here, it downloads the Word document, and here's the file. It's about 3.5 pages that you'll be doing as far as this, almost 4 pages, almost four full pages. That is the work that you will be editing, and again, you can get that file simply by clicking the Module 4 activity. Okay, so you're going to download that, okay, and then what are you going to do with that, okay? Well, you need to do two things. Compose a brief letter to the writer explaining your coaching assessment. So after you've completed the edit, as it were, you're going to kind of give them a letter, where you say, hey, look, again, a brief letter, kind of overall stating your, now, the problem here is this says coaching assessment, and again, we have to be careful of the words we're using here, okay? But basically, your overall feedback. Let's just use feedback instead of coaching assessment, and I'll explain that why in just a second. And then you also have to apply proper editing techniques, and you'll see that's part of the grade. Well, the second one, this one right here, is actually pretty easy. Because as long as you take this work here and you use the track changes feature, which we've talked about, that is a way that you have used proper editing techniques, okay? Because you have to go through this and you have to make notes throughout the actual paper. Sorry about that, my phone rang and I had to deal with it. Okay, so back to this. Okay, so we're going to do the line editing here. So that takes care of the editing techniques part. Now, the coaching assessment. Well, what does that mean? Well, for us to understand the coaching assessment, we really need to understand what it means to do a proofread. Well, remember those resources? Okay, well, one of them was the different stages of editing a novel, and this is one of those links that I showed you can find in the resources. So if you look down here, there's stage 1, and we kind of did stage 1 where we kind of talked about theme and pacing and all this kind of stuff. You'll notice that like stage 2, you have line editing and copy editing, and these are kind of the things that a copy editor does. And stage 3 is proofreading. Okay. Does not aim to assess or improve the manuscript. Okay, so we're following the directions of the assignment, right? Where it says they have wanted us to do a proofread. So we go to the instructions. So we're not necessarily saying things to improve the manuscript, but acts as a final check that everything is correct, okay? And it says it addresses nearly all the same issues as a copy editor. Okay, so this is what a copy editor does. Okay, make sure that the work of the author, editor, typesetter has been carried out to satisfactory standard. Okay, well, basically that's, I don't know how you'd even mark up that. It's basically we're looking more like the copy editor stuff there, and then mark up any errors or flags that for any last issues. So basically, this assignment, this work here is pretty polished, and so you need to kind of go through and take a look at it, and then make any final kind of notes, stuff that needs to be changed. This isn't the place where you give wholesale, oh well, you need to change a different point of view, you need to do this, you need to do that. This is more kind of like the final step, okay? And that's very important to understand for this assignment, because it is asking us to do a proofread. Okay, so hopefully, really wrap your head around what a proofreader does, and then we can use that on that assignment, okay? So what I'm going to be looking for when you grade it is basically, are you doing what a proofreader does? And how I'll tell that is by, you will basically edit this thing using the track changes and address the stuff that basically it says here, basically correcting grammar, spelling and typos, inconsistencies as far as text-based, capitalization, hyphenation and stuff like this, anything like this. So basically, as long as you're doing that and any flags, so let's say, if they had changed fonts halfway through or something, that would be something you would also be noting. Okay. Oops, wrong button. Okay, there's that. Okay, so that's the editing activity. Okay, so you would upload that, and yeah, that's how you do it. Okay, so there's that one. Moving on to exercise 4.3. Okay, so back in module 3, you actually wrote your philosophy on coaching and mentoring. Okay, so what you're going to do here is that you're going to upload your paper that you submitted. Okay, so that you've already written this, and then you're going to ask your classmates to proofread it. Now, here's the thing that I mentioned earlier. So it says when you're ready to submit the assignment and critique it, proceed to the next page. Well, if you proceed to the next page, then yeah, it doesn't allow you. There's no place to submit it, and that's the ticket I submitted. So that's hopefully what will be fixed before class, that module starts. But so basically, you're going to upload your assignment, and again, be sure to submit your assignment as soon as possible so your peers will have enough time to work on it. So you're going to upload your paper, and then you're going to peer review 2 of your classmates. And so that assignment is right here. Okay, so basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to read through it, and you're going to look for their strengths, provide specific examples of strengths and weaknesses in their work. Okay, opportunities for revision, suggest specific areas for revision, and make sure that you critique at least 2 of your classmates. Please, when you go into critique, see who has not been critiqued yet. Okay, we don't want to have one person that has 18 responses and then someone that has 0 responses. Okay, we'd like to have everyone to have at least 2 responses, so make sure you do that. And again, the grading rubric for this is, again, I'm going to be looking, okay, did you provide specific feedback for the work? Okay, did you suggest specific areas for revision? And this is per peer review. Okay, and then did you do that for at least 2 classmates? Okay, and then make sure that you're articulating your response. So that is how you're graded on this assignment. Once that link is actually available, I'll probably post another video to show you exactly how you can do this through Critique It. That's kind of a weird program if you're not familiar with it. Anyway, so that is that assignment right there. Okay, so you'll upload that, and again, I will give you more information, but it would be a place where you upload it, and then you can make comments on your fellow classmates' work. But again, just review this rubric and kind of, again, make it stupidly clear. Hey, these are your strengths and weaknesses. These are your opportunities for revision. Okay, as long as you include these elements here for their work. And again, what are you doing? You are proofreading their paper, which they submitted for Module 3, which is their philosophy and coaching on mentoring. Whew, I hope you got all that. Okay. And then last but not least is we get to add more stuff to the class resources. Okay, and again, that is found under, if you go to the course menu and you go to discussions and you scroll all the way to the bottom, class resources. So you'll notice that I uploaded something this last Monday. Click on here. This is our wiki. This is our list of resources on things that we are going to be used that are going to help us. So make sure you're uploading to this because this is part of your grade. All right. And then also remember in the announcement to watch for my other video, which talks about some fun stuff that relates to this module. So, all right, good luck. If you have any questions, especially with the critique it, please reach out to me. Again, I will probably post another video showing exactly how to do those critiques once that is fixed and available. All right, now go have fun and do it.